Hey, it's awesome that you're tuning in. So in today's video, it's time to take a close look at this new Anbernic that came here in the Wicked Cave. It's the RG405V. Anbernic is basically the king of releasing devices, but I must say when it comes to Anbernic, they do have a lot of quality devices. But nevertheless, what we're going to get is basically a thick or very deformed Game Boy version. And I must say that I was surprised to see that it was releasing another Game Boy lookalike. Nevertheless, why I just called it a Game Boy lookalike? Because the form factor is quite authentic. And I really love the way how this thing looks, but also how it feels. And I already noticed a couple of improvements over all the previous models that we're going to talk about today. So this is the old school version with the gray shell and of course the very nice purplish buttons. Specification wise, it looks pretty damn cool with the Unisoc Tiger T618. That's a 64-bit octa-core. Nevertheless, we're going to get ourselves the Mali G52 running on 850 MHz like in GPU, 4GB of LPDDR4, and then Android 12 with built-in software front end. But let's do a quick overview, what are we actually going to get, and is this thing really worth picking up? Beside that, let's take a close look inside the package itself. What are we going to get? So first of all, you can order them with different sizes of memory cards. This is the one on 28GB, but the unfortunate thing is, bad as said, I hate it. Because they are not like high quality ones, they can get corrupted fairly easy. I have seen it with game sticks, handhelds, you name it. Then we're going to get ourselves the cable USB for charging. There is no power supply. You need to get yourself a power supply itself, so that's a little bit of a bummer. If you want to apply the screen protector, we're going to get ourselves the wipes for cleaning the screen itself. So in here we're going to find the glass screen protector, so that's pretty damn cool that I'm going to give you one. Take consideration if you order these things, it's always like double check if you're going to get it. Sometimes you have different kind of bundles, and also depending where you're going to buy it. Including a manual. It's a very thin manual actually, not the toilet paper kind, but it's more the glossy one. But to give you a quick overview what you can actually do with it, how does it work, read through it, because there are a couple of things you need to know, but also we're going to show you here in this video. But let's assemble the extra SD card, because that's the first thing that we need to do. So at first, I really love the form factor of the device itself, but also when it comes to the button configuration. The reason why, because I am a D-pad player, especially when it comes to retro emulation. But we're going to test out what can we actually play with this thing. At the front we're going to get two joysticks. They're similar to the Nintendo Switch. And they also include the click underneath. Then we're going to get this D-pad, the A, B, X, Y buttons. A nice, very clicky home button and two select and start plastic buttons, not rubberized. I must say that the D-pad itself feels very nice. It does have a very sturdy feel to it. And it is long travel, but not to the point that it's way too, let's say, strong with a resistance. Nevertheless, I really like it. Another great game, if you want to try out the D-pad, is of course if you want to play some Contra. And what you can see over here, that the game runs pretty damn great in combination with the D-pad. So when it comes to the buttons over here, we do have a very nice touch to it. And the touch, yeah, I can tell you, it's very comfortable play. And what are we going to get underneath? We're going to get ourselves the speakers and we're going to get ourselves an audio jack out. At the left side, there we're going to get ourselves the special button that we're going to use for entering the special menu. So at the left side, we're going to get ourselves the on-off switch and volume control. And at the back, we're going to get ourselves an active cooling fan. This thing doesn't turn on every single time, so when you're going to be booting it up, the first thing I'm noticing with this, it's very easy to reach, even to the point that it's going to be even a little bit too easy. So when I'm basically moving my fingers around, I can just press the buttons fairly easy. And the reason why, because they give it a very nice angle. So while holding it, you can press them fairly easy. And I already mentioned before, it's a little bit too easy in my opinion. Nevertheless, when you're going to be powering on the first time, we need to set it all up. So this thing comes also with a built-in vibrator motor, and it's quite aggressive in my opinion. It will take a couple of seconds to boot up the first time. And before you're going to be booting up, sometimes it will start spinning, especially when you're going to be like using a lot of power from the CPU, GPU. But okay, so let's take a close look at some overall emulation performance and how does actually this system work. So if you just want to play some old school games like me, yeah, it's going to be absolutely a lot of fun. Nevertheless, the emulation for the old school stuff is just great and looks amazing. Another thing I find very pleasant is the overall audio quality of this device. But take consideration if you want to go back to the menu, pressing select and start will give you the RetroArch menu. Here we can of course make a quick load, quick save. So yeah, that's one of the ways you can make a quick load, quick save. If you close the content, we'll go back to the emulator it was actually running on, pressing the button at the side again, and a couple of times will bring you back to the menu. So let's say if you want to choose a different game, it will ask you if you want to have the old game or a new game. So let's choose I want the old game. It will go back to the RetroArch menu because I already went to that point. So it's a little bit strange in my opinion how it all works in my opinion. It's not perfect, but you know, it does the job. So here we need to choose new game and we'll put up RetroArch again, and that's it. Another option we can do is holding the home button, and this will bring you automatically to the software itself. And from this point on, so let's say I want to return to the game, here we can make the option for an old game or a new game, let's say the old game, and now we'll go back to the menu itself. So it works slightly different when you're comparing this with different devices. You can see the game has a quick load, quick save, but also you can use the original save file. So I think it's pretty damn cool. Next up, let's try some N64, one of those systems I wanted to see getting run perfectly, let's say, supported and running great on the device like this. But of course it's going to be a mixed performance, but just wanted to check out some Zero. So when it comes to the overall performance, I think it's going to be a mixed performance. But this particular game seems to be running fine. I did hear some minor dips over there in the beginning, but beside that it runs pretty cool. Alright, so next up let's try some PlayStation 1 emulation. Because this is one of the systems that runs on so many devices now. Both of the analog stick and the D-pad have been configured. Seems to be also they added a lot of good games with including some audio resolution up, so it will run in original native resolution. That's a little bit of a bummer because I think this device maybe had the option of doing a little bit of an upscaling. Not that it really matters because it's still a tiny display. It looks just great this way. And one thing I also noticed that it does have vibration motor built in, but so far none of the emulators have been configured by it. A little bit of a bummer because it would be a very cool extra. But if you're going to look into the PlayStation 2 emulation, there we're not going to get perfect overall emulation performance at every single game. It just pushes the device to the limit, and you can just hear that it stutters all the freaking time. Even with the first part, I really don't consider this as playable in my opinion. But another system I really was looking forward to testing out is the GameCube part on this. So first of all, I just wanted to check out some fighting games. And I've noticed that the D-pad is very comfortable to play. I'm very pleased with that. But the overall performance is okay in my opinion. It runs around 30 FPS. So it's unfortunately not full speed. So it's pretty damn cool to actually see this game running. Yeah, 31, 32 speed. Yeah, is it really playable? Yeah, that is something you need to decide yourself. Alright, so next up I want to try some PlayStation, and just to see how far we can push it. I have been setting it to 1x resolution and 2x, but with 2x resolution in combination with God of War, it's not going to be working that great. You can see a lot of stuttering, and we can mess around with the emulator if you want to. The frames have been set to 1 from default, but I basically shut that down because I want to have the full speed of the game. Next up, let's go back to the menu and let's go back to the game. And with just the normal resolution, or let's say 1 time, it runs pretty good. But it doesn't have to say that you cannot run different games in 2x resolution. Depending on what kind of game we're playing, But the overall performance out of a box, I find it quite disappointing, to be honest. And also no idea why my buttons aren't configured. There's absolutely one huge gigantic mess. That's a little bit of a bummer in my opinion. They switch it to the back buttons. But still. It's a little bit of a bummer, because it does look absolutely amazing on this device. So when the system has been booted up, what you're actually going to get is everything is pre-installed on the device itself. Of course, the Play Store, you need to add your account if you want to do some, let's say, adding new games to your system. But for now, we're just going to focus on emulation. So when it comes to the overall emulation, we have all kinds of emulators preset. I think it's pretty damn awesome too. Nevertheless, when you're going to use the side button over here, we're going to get ourselves the special Anbernic launcher. And from this point on, you can just choose what kind of game you want to play. So if you just want to play with a device like this, you can just easily play all kinds of old school stuff. So that's the reason I wanted to focus on some other stuff. Think in particular like when it comes to Sega Saturn, Dreamcast, the stuff that doesn't run great, including PlayStation 2. So first of all, there are all kinds of different games on here, so I'm really curious what I'm actually going to get. The overall menu looks kind of basic in my opinion, so there's nothing really special going on. I've seen some better options when it comes to Bodacera. Maybe in the future they will also add a Bodacera or Emulation software upgrade. I'm really curious about that. But here I have all kinds of different ways to play. Nevertheless, let's deep dive into it. Let's of course pick a couple of, let's say, old school games. But I just wanted to showcase what you can actually do. Nevertheless, when you're looking at this particular device, I must say that I'm quite surprised by it. It is a very comfortable device also. It does have a very nice weight to it. And yeah, when you're looking at the display, but yeah, the software itself feels a little bit clunky when it comes out of the box with the Android launcher. Of course, it's way better than having nothing, but in my opinion, the overall experience, it's okay. Well, thank you all for watching. Consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and it will be great to see you in the next video.